Welcome everybody. Now we are going to start section 2 of this course. In this section we are going to look at how we can set up the hardware and software required for our wireless lab. The first topic we are going to cover will be the requirements for setting up a wireless lab. Then we are going to go through the process of downloading and running Backtrack. This is going to be followed by the basic setup procedure for our wireless infrastructure like wireless access points and clients. Finally, we are going to conclude section 2 of this course, which is to be followed by section 3, where we will delve into the details of wireless theory. Okay, now coming to our first topic, the requirements of setting up a wireless lab. We are going to cover this process in 4 steps. Firstly, we are going to start with a brief introduction of wireless networks. This is required before going into the details of wireless lab setup. Then we are going to look at the various criteria that should be considered when choosing the appropriate hardware for a wireless lab. Finally, we are going to recommend the equipment required in our wireless lab, which will help us to master the art of wireless penetration testing. Any device that connects to a wireless network is known as a station. Stations can be of 2 types, access points or clients. Here we are going to start with an introduction of wireless access points or WAPs. WAPs are network devices that allow interconnectivity between the various clients connected to a wireless segment, somewhat similar to a physical switch in wired networks. In other words, WAPs bridge the wireless and wired networks together. They are equipped with 1 or more wireless network adapters, antenna and radio transmitters. Devices working as access points are sometimes referred to as master mode devices, for example in Linux jargon. The second type of wireless stations are wireless clients. These are the end devices that connect to a wireless network. These devices are equipped with wireless network interface controller (WNIC) cards. This mode of operation is sometimes referred to as managed or infrastructure mode. Nowadays wireless connectivity is fairly ubiquitous and is bundled with almost all kinds of electronic devices including desktops, laptops, smartphones, tablets, etc. Choosing the right wireless hardware can be a very difficult and frustrating task. For example, manufacturers can vary chipsets while retaining the same model number. So you go out to the internet and read that this particular card uses the Atheros chipset, which works great with Backtrack and supports the required features. However, it is possible after buying the card you suddenly discover that particular manufacturer now uses a totally different chipset which does not work with Backtrack. Therefore, you should do a lot of research before ordering any equipment for your lab. There are various factors that should be considered when shopping for a wireless card. These factors include the band supported by the card. For example, if you are doing a penetration testing assignment for a customer that runs their wireless LAN over band N, then definitely that's something you would want to be supported on your wireless card. The second factor to consider is the physical interconnection type. This would greatly depend on the hardware you are going to operate your card on. Also, the interface types vary between internal and external wireless cards. For example, older laptops usually have PCMCIA or card bus slots for external connectivity. Newer laptops are usually equipped with PCI Express slots. USB connectivity is also another good option. Common standards for internal wireless cards are PCI, PCI Express, Mini PCI and Mini PCI Express. One important caveat to remember is that most cards that are bundled with the computer's motherboard or come pre-installed with your machine will not be detected by virtualization software. That is why it is highly recommended to use an external USB card if you plan to run Backtrack in a virtualized environment. The other 2 factors to consider are the receive sensitivity and transmit power. Out of these 2, it is more important to consider the receive sensitivity. Receive sensitivity indicates how weak an RF signal can be successfully received by a wireless device. The lower the power level that the receiver can successfully process, the better the receive sensitivity, so a lower sensitivity rating is a sign of better reception. Another important factor to consider is that the card should support packet injection and packet sniffing. Packet sniffing is also known as monitor mode or promiscuous mode. Next is Backtrack compatibility, which is kind of related to the previous point. Please keep in mind that this is the most critical factor to consider. A list of cards tested with packet injection is maintained at the Backtrack Wiki website, www.backtrack-linux.org/wiki/index.php/wireless_drivers. Finally, we should consider the compatibility of the card in our virtualized environment. For example, the USB card recommendation discussed previously. Now we are going to talk about the process of choosing the appropriate wireless access point. This is relatively easier than choosing wireless client adapters. Some factors to consider are the power or range of the AP, the horizontal and vertical signal dispersion of the AP, which is basically the coverage pattern. You would also want to consider the antenna type. For example, you would want to use a directional antenna to connect to a customer network while being in the parking lot outside their premises. Using a directional antenna in this case would give the required coverage distance that might not be available with a regular Omni antenna. Another factor to consider is the type of security protocol supported, like WEP, WPA, WPA2, radius, etc. Once again, the frequency band supported by the wireless device is definitely an important point to keep in mind. Lastly, you have to keep an eye on your pocket. No need to purchase a $300 AP when you can achieve the same with that wireless home router already lying somewhere in your house. Following are the components of a recommended wireless penetration testing lab. Firstly, we should have at least 1 or 2 wireless access points, then we need at least 2 to 3 wireless clients. Of course, these could be laptops, smartphones, etc. These multiple clients will be used to simulate the various roles in our demonstrations like attacker, victim, etc. Also, if you are really serious about wireless penetration testing, the use of a USB-based external wireless network card is highly recommended. This is especially important if you want to run Backtrack in virtualized mode as discussed previously. For this purpose, we highly recommend the Alphas AWS-036H card, which carries a very impressive 500 MW power rating and is fully supported within Backtrack. In the next video, we'll have a look at setting up Backtrack.